everyone, welcome back to the channel. So the title of this video stream today is For the Love of Women. And I thought that today it would be a good time to talk about, how do I put this? The importance of recognizing those who love women. And obviously the flip side of that is those that don't. And, in the spirit of this channel, most of what I've talked about over the years has been matters either from my perspective as a woman, my experience as a woman, or about womanhood generally and what that means and why it matters. And also looking at the things that we don't look at, the things we don't see, the things we don't recognize about women, womanhood, girlhood, all of these different factors. So the other thing too is that this week it was International Women's Day on the 8th, and I really wasn't able to do anything to celebrate, so I thought maybe having this would be a way of commemorating that holiday. So yeah, welcome. We'll get into it. We're going to talk about this, and obviously I'd love to hear from you all watching what you think about this subject as well. Oh, hello, Polar Knights. Welcome to the chat. Good you're here. So yeah, the thing is, I think we don't often get a chance to stop and recognize just, oh, thank you, how much an impact women have on our lives, especially as women ourselves. And obviously this chat is open to the public. Anyone can join. And, for any men who may be watching, this is also an important holiday to kind of recognize women as well in your life and the impact that women have on you. The reality is that women generally enrich our lives in ways that we don't always recognize or take into account. And so, like, the holiday of International Women's Day is one of those times when we can kind of stop and think about and recognize just the importance of those relationships, the significant women in our lives who enrich us, who nourish us, who nurture us, and also ourselves as women too. And just all the ways that who we are and what we are makes the world just a better place to be. Now, obviously, with International Women's Day, I love to go back to the history of it. The fact is, this holiday is one that has socialist roots. It was founded and started first by Clara Zetkin and Rosa Luxemburg. And it later was first honored as a holiday by the Soviet Union, just to recognize women's struggle to, like, the international struggle for workers' emancipation and just the general betterment of humanity. And throughout history, women have always been at the forefront of every movement for betterment, justice. And I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that many women know and have this intuition when things aren't right, and we have a sense within ourselves, not just mentally, but we feel it in our very selves when things are right or wrong. And it's very hard for many women to sit with things being wrong. It's something about it I've noticed with women. When something's wrong, we just can't be settled. We just can't be, our feet don't stay still. We have to do something to change it. And I think too, we recognize just by our very natures, and I think maybe this is also part of the feminine polarity that we occupy in the world and that we embody and that we represent. It is one of feeling often. Um, so before we can even articulate sometimes what is wrong, we know. And I think that's a big part of why women were so involved in these movements in the past and continue to be today. So I think just recognizing that's important, that history, because I've noticed over the past maybe 10 years or so that corporate America is starting to recognize International Women's Day. Like, hey, it's International Women's Day. And it's like, thank you. Can I get a raise? Can I get some recognition for all the unpaid labor I do around here as a woman? All the ways that we smooth things over and make them easier for everyone else in the world. Yeah, can I? Yeah, so anyway, this is one of those holidays that I think it's important to stop and recognize that it does have those radical roots, and that it's not just a fluffy holiday to give women flowers, and to, be celebrating just that lighter side of womanhood. I think it's important to recognize our strengths as women on this holiday and the very much innate power that we have and the way that we change the world by our presence in it. So Polar Night says, we have innate intuition. Achan, hello, welcome. So, yeah, I don't want this to just be a chat about International Women's Day, but I too wanted to talk about, really recognizing as women through our intuition, kind of, I don't know, whether something is for women or not, I guess. Is this the way I want to put it? It's important with specifically there's so much that is directed towards women in the world, as consumers. There's a lot of interest in having our attention and directing things to us a lot of the times. And I was in a chat recently and on another woman's live stream. And a lot of the women, this woman gives a lot of advice around relationships and just self-improvement, self-empowerment. I'm looking for a crochet hook that's a little bit smaller. Excuse me while I do this. And a lot of the women, I was kind of disturbed, were asking all these questions related to things about, goodness, what was it? Well, specifically, there was one woman who kept asking about whether it's appropriate to lie, whether it's a good idea, that whether she should lie to men about her age. And, and the woman running the chat was very, I think she handled it appropriately. She's like, that makes you look insecure. And I mean, it does. I agree with that. But it kind of struck me. I'm like thinking about all of the specifically men here on YouTube that steal women's ideas, steal women's content, and kind of mass market it in such a way that they often have a lot of females following them. There's a lot of these dating coaches here on YouTube that are male, you notice, and they direct really self-hating material to women that I don't even know how to begin to unpack exactly, but it's very clear just from listening to the types of things they say to women and the types of advice that they give women that they don't really have women's interests at heart. Obviously, they're self interested. But the other thing is, they don't even like women, you know? And I find it really bizarre just how many women are willing to sit and listen to someone who hates them, who doesn't even like them, tell them about themselves, tell them about their own value, tell them about their worth, tell them about what makes them worthy or valuable or attractive, even. Man, I mean, it really struck me. So, I responded in this chat. I was like, stop listening to men that don't like women tell you about what men want in a woman. Okay? Stop that. That's absurd. These guys don't even want a woman around. Why are you listening to them? Like they really they have contempt for us. They don't even see the value in us. So why are you sitting here like worried about what they say even? It's the same thing too with all of the misogyny, men's communities online where men who are unsuccessful with women because they're unsuccessful generally, sitting around and dissecting women's value. This is not something that successful men do. And so it just kind of strikes me as it's really wild that any women would listen to what these men have to say. I mean, they may have a successful YouTube channel, but a successful YouTube channel is not indicative of a successful life. It's not indicative of having one's life in order. And if one is having, as a man, if one is having problems with women, generally, they don't have their life together. Because again, like I've said, successful men don't have problems with women. I've just noticed that. I don't know about you, but I've noticed men that have their money together, men that have their life together, don't have problems with women. They just don't. They don't sit around complaining about women because they don't have issues with women. But anyway, I just want to put that out there. Reading those kind of comments and just the idea of like whether you would lie to a man about your age. I love telling people how old I am. I've earned every year of my life. I don't know why somebody would lie about their age. Why would I lie to a man about my age? If he thinks I'm a hag, like, I don't care. Because that's not somebody who likes women. You know what I mean? Why would I in any way shrink myself, make myself smaller, to make someone artificially feel bigger, Somebody who is secure and digging of themselves doesn't need you to do that. M says, virtually all of my most terrible bosses have been women, and I've had many. Perhaps it's because there are more women in the service industry where I've worked. Oh, honey. I'm no longer in the service industry, but when I did work in the service industry, I did have some wonderful female bosses, I will say. And I did, in many ways, enjoy working in an environment that was more feminine at times. But yeah, I will say I did have some female bosses that really had no... They just didn't have your back. They didn't have my back as a woman. And they, could really create a very toxic environment. That being said, I've had male bosses do the same thing. Currently, I mean, my direct supervisor now at work is a man, and he's actually, the interesting thing is, I think he has all the difficult women on his team, like the team he manages. I don't think I'm particularly difficult, but I may be difficult for some people to handle. But I've noticed like all the women on his team are very like intelligent, independent, capable. And he handles us all very well in terms of like guiding us through our position. So I will say that. Shout out to my supervisor. um, it's complex. I don't know what makes people the way they are, or why like some women can be so destructive in the workplace at times. But I am sorry about that experience too. I get it though. A lot of the times, again, in the service industry, it's such a mixed bag because a lot of people are there that don't want to be, and that could make a really toxic workplace as well. It does. When people don't want to be there, they're wanting something else, I mean, not that we're all there for money, right? We're all working to get a paycheck at the end of the day. If you're working a job, a job, that's what you're there for. So, but it does get difficult sometimes because I think there's just so much that goes on when people aren't really satisfied with themselves. People who aren't satisfied with themselves generally are not satisfied with others. Polar Knight said, it's probably where we get all our self-esteem issues in the first place, shaming our arm hair, our age, overall looks. Incels telling women how to feel, what to do. I mean, it's nuts. Like this guy, if this guy, I mean, don't listen to men who don't like women. Okay, if he doesn't like women, why are you listening to what he says? Okay, period. Period. It doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, like it's always like awkward because sometimes these women are like younger than me, and they're like asking that. They're like, I'm 31. Should I lie about my age? Like, why? Aren't you proud to be as old as you are? Aren't you glad you've lived as long as you have? Like, don't shrink yourself to make somebody else feel bigger. If he ain't big enough in his masculinity to handle a 31-year-old woman, then he doesn't need to be in your life. Okay. I don't know what to tell these people. Like, but yeah, that was blowing my mind, y'all. That was a rough moment this week. Win says, save this for later since it's late over here. All right. Well, hopefully the chat goes well. Polar Knight says it's because there's men out there that say a woman is over the age, that say if a woman is over the age of 25 that she's disposable. What? Okay, let's just be clear here, okay? Men who only date women under the age of 25, like as a pattern, can't usually afford to date a woman their own age or older than that, okay? Because like women, once they hit 25, tend to have these things called standards. Just putting that out there. They have certain expectations of being treated with a certain level of respect and dignity. They expect a man to be able to like take them somewhere else other than McDonald's. Like I don't even know what to say with that. Also, like, why would you listen to a man like that? I see women. Recently I saw a woman who was 60 get married. All right, like A case, yeah, a woman in her 60s get married. Like, women get, women are valuable. Who we are adds value to men's lives. I don't think that's talked about enough as well. Our very presence improves their lived experience, okay? Just having you near, just your presence alone is valuable, okay? Because who we are and what we do naturally, just our perspective, it enriches their lives. So, I mean, that's nonsense. It's being said by very immature men who resent women because they probably are not able to impress them, because she don't want to go to McDonald's, she doesn't want to go to the bowling alley, or she has certain standards. She expects nice gifts, on her birthday or Valentine's Day, you know. She wants something better than like the bare minimum. A girl under 25 or a woman under 25 usually doesn't have any experience, doesn't know what she's worth. And the thing is, like, once women hit 25, they tend to know the game. So like I just yeah, I don't listen to men that don't like women. If you're under 25, you're not even fully grown yet, okay? So if a man's looking for someone under 25, let him. Let him, because that's all he can handle. All right? He's not masculine enough to deal with or impress an adult woman. Okay. Let those young women have him, because you know what? They're not going to be satisfied with him either. M says, are you drinking kombucha? Have you ever tried making your own? I did have a kombucha mother for a while. I've done it a couple times, but honestly, it's a mess. It's a hassle. It smells vinegary. It's a lot of work. I'm not interested in it. And I don't even drink it that often, like anymore. When I was younger, I used to drink it more regularly, so it made sense to be making it myself. And it was a cool process, but I just don't want that in my house anymore. I don't want to deal with all of that. I'm about an easy life, okay? That's who I am. I'm about my life being simple. I'm about my life being easy. I'm about things just being comfortable. And yes, I did get it at Whole Foods. Shameless plug. I went to Whole Foods this morning. I got some vitamins, I got some kombucha, and I got these lovely flowers. Aren't they pretty? And they smell wonderful too, I have to say. They smell so lovely. Because I tell you, Whole Foods gets some really nice deals on flowers. Better than the Safeway near me. Whole Foods has better flowers at better prices, generally speaking. So sometimes I like to go there to get my flowers. That's what I went there for today. I was like, you know what? I haven't bought myself flowers in a couple weeks. I'm going to do that. And then I was like I was looking at different things. I thought about maybe, they have their bar, their little hot food bar. Sometimes, they have nice things for breakfast. Unfortunately, this morning, what they had on served for breakfast was not good. So I declined that. I looked at the baked goods. Nothing really caught my eye. I looked at the juice. Nothing really was appealing. And then I saw this citrus Earl Grey with blood orange, bergamot, lemon, and black tea. And wouldn't you know, it was on sale. So I got myself a bottle. And then I went, I went to Pete's after that. There used to be a Pete's over by Whole Foods. It closed in town, which is heartbreaking because I've been going there since I've lived in Portland. Rest in peace, Brewery Blocks Pete's. So yeah, they have one like near the square. So I went over there. And wouldn't you know it, the person working was one of my old coworkers. And so I got a free Havana cappuccino, and we caught up and exchanged numbers. So I had a lovely morning, and now I'm enjoying my bottle of kombucha. I almost forgot about it, actually. I was thinking, I was like, oh, I'm going to have some sparkling water when I go live. And then I was like, wait, Terri, you got yourself some kombucha. Why don't you enjoy it? Baller Knight says, I agree they shouldn't be listened to, but I see stuff like this being said, and I can't help but think that contributes to women's self-hatred. I suppose, but like, you just look at the men saying it, okay? Look at the men saying it. No man you want is going to say things like that. No man you want is going to think like that, period. You know, I don't know. Like, the only thing that drives men to be like that online, okay, talking about women, is their own lack of success with the opposite sex. Okay. And as I said again, men that are successful do not have problems with women. They understand the value of women. And if they don't like certain types of women, they don't sit around talking about it. You know, they don't complain about your stretch marks, your cellulite, because you know what? They can get the kind of women they like. Okay. You know how? Because they're real men. But we have a lot of men out here brainwashed, thinking that despite the fact that they have nothing going for them, that they should have a woman that is somehow well above their level. You know, to me, it's just like, it is beyond me. Okay. If you are, as a man, are unsuccessful, struggling, got bad credit, don't take care of yourself, spend too much time online playing video games, hanging out with other men, instead of going out in the world, making something of your life, you know, you're going to have problems with women. That's how it is. And, you know, they sit around and they fester in their self-hatred. It's their own self-hatred projected outward. Okay. You know, they want to make women feel bad, but so they sit around and they do this stuff. But like I've said, you don't see men that are successful, that have their lives in order, doing that stuff. Okay. They're out getting married, having families, building legacy, you know, contributing to their community. And I said this in the video I did about miserable people, period. It's the same thing. Like from my experience as a woman, okay, I've dealt with a lot of miserable women, but there are miserable men out there, okay? And it's the same thing, okay? They sit around complaining. They don't take action, okay? They don't like what they get, all right? But they take what they can get. And a lot of these men, like the women that they complain about, these are the only women they can get, all right? You know, and they feel inadequate. You know, they'll be happily, and this is the thing too, like men and women are very different. I don't think we talk about that enough as well. Like, and I think a lot of women, they put so much, instead of building ourselves, you know, we look externally. We look out into the world to tell us who we are. And if you do that, you're going to find people who can't see you. All right. Telling you who you are. If you can't recognize yourself, your own intrinsic value, the things about you that are valuable, that matter, the way that you impact others. If you can't recognize these things in yourself and you're looking externally to the world for information, for validation, all you're going to find is empty information. Okay? You're going to get opinions that have nothing to do with you. Alex said, shots fired. But it's true. What I'm saying is true. And it's like, I'm glad, Alex also says, I had peers tell it to me straight. This is the thing, if you're having problems in life generally, okay, if you're unsuccessful, if you're struggling, with whatever you don't want to be struggling with, there are people that will sell you comforting lies that, tell you that you're fine. It's the world that's wrong. And then there's people that are going to tell you the truth. Okay. Those people that tell you the truth that you need to improve are, it may hurt. It may sting. But at the end of the day, if you listen to those people that tell you that truth that maybe hurts, it's medicine. Okay. It's like medicine that tastes bad. It tastes bad, but it's going to make you better. Okay. It don't feel good right now, but over time, you're going to feel better. You're going to do better. You're going to improve. So thank you for sharing that from straight from a man's mouth here, y'all. It's like, yeah, I think too, like for women, there's a lot of mentorship that is negative as well. And you have to look for that too. And I've noticed there are a lot of women that advise other women or, try to mentor other women that don't really love other women, that don't really care about other women, or they want to, organize with or do things on behalf of or with women. But at the end of the day, they don't even like other women. And they don't even care about, they don't even love. When somebody loves women, you can tell. Even if they're saying things that aren't nice, they'll say something that's true to help you, but it's always, in your best interest. It's always to help move you forward. It's always to help get you unstuck. And I think too, again, there's a lot of people out there as well that will sell you those comforting lies, that'll just keep telling you what you want to hear. Like, you're fine just the way you are. You don't need to improve. You don't need to change the way you think. You don't need to change your perspective. You don't need to, maybe get more, you don't need to develop yourself. You are just fine the way you are. That is the most comforting lie out there. It's not true. We all have work to do on ourselves, period. And if you are dissatisfied in life, there are things you can do. There are steps you can take, but it's not going to feel good. It's not going to be easy. But the more you do, the better you feel. The more you grow, the more amazed you will be at yourself. And the more you'll look back and be like wondering, how did I think that way? Who is that person? And I love looking at old pictures of myself and cringing. I love being like, whoa, I've grown so much. Whoa. I have compassion and, love for that person that I was. But I'm so glad I didn't stay there. I'm so glad I didn't stay stuck there. I'm so glad I figured out that the problem was me. I'm so glad I looked in the mirror and I was honest in my assessment. I'm so glad I listened to people who told me that, like, yeah, some things needed to change. Not that I got that much, a lot of it I had to do on my own. And then as I started to wake up and recognize that, a lot of things were my faults, I started to find the people that would help guide me even further. A lot of the times you have to make the mindset shift before you find the right information and you find the right mentors as well. That F said facts, simple as. I'm glad people like what I said. I'm glad people like what I said here. You know, it just astounds me the number of women who will look to men for advice who don't like women, who aren't, successful with women, and they'll sit and they'll be like, "These men are saying mean things about women. Like these men don't have women. Does this man have a successful relationship with a woman? Has he? Does his own mama even like him? Is he even grown?" Unreal to me. Unreal to me. Mm. Yeah, this is good. This is good. I'm glad I got this flavor. Ugh, love that Earl Grey flavor. There's something about it. Just so satisfying. And look, it was brewed here in Portland, Oregon. All right. So what y'all are being quiet today. I can only go on so long. What do you think? Mm, 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 mm. I don't know if I should talk about the experience I had running into my old coworker. I don't know if they would appreciate it, honestly, but it was quite an experience. It was quite an experience. Ooh, the sun's coming out. I have the blinds down. You can see it's getting even brighter out there. I did get a little sunshine today. That felt really good this morning. Oh, it's wonderful. That natural vitamin D. Um, but yeah, let's just say it was illuminating. It was an illuminating experience. And I actually had thought about this individual a couple days before. And so it was like fated, I guess. It was like, oh, hey, this person's going to come back into your life. Um, Polar Knight says, I think you're right. That's right. Tell me I'm right. We need to look inward if we ever want to improve, right? Achan says, not really related to the stream, but how do you like Portland? What made you decide to live there? I love Portland, Oregon. Okay. It's so, I think there's a lot of things about it that people here complain about. And I did move away for a couple of years and move back. Um, and people, who don't live here routinely tell me, oh, you need to leave, especially during like 2020. Um, there was a lot of people being like, are you going to leave? You should leave. You should leave Portland. And we were on the news a lot, but I was really proud of us, honestly, because I was like, yeah, that's my city. We're a real city. um, I think the people here are, it's a mixed bag. A lot of the people are mindless liberal zombies. And then a lot of the people are, I mean, just I don't want to say that broadly, but yeah, it's a very liberal place. But it's a city, okay? Cities are liberal places because you have tons of different kinds of people living together, and you do have to be tolerant. You do have to be accepting. You do have to deal with the fact that other people are living in ways that are different than you. That's part of what it means to live in a city, a civilization. You have a lot of different people coming together. Um, I think that too is part of it because people do complain about that a lot. And I just think it's like, so, that that's what it is. If I want to have, this is the thing too for me, just in my experience living in smaller towns in America, I feel a lot more safe and invisible here than I do when I live in smaller cities, smaller towns. I feel like in those environments, I stick out more. My differences are more of a problem. Whereas here, I'm not the most interesting thing happening. You know what I mean? I feel like everywhere else I've lived, and I'm sure, if I lived in bigger cities than this, I would be even more so. But I do like the size of Portland. I like that it's small as well. It has more of a community feel in that respect because you do run into people. You see someone and you're going to see them again, most likely. So it has that kind of vibe of a small town, but it has all the benefits of a large city. I love the land base. I think the greenery is astounding. It's green here all year round. The trees are incredible. The hills, the mountains, the river. I find that really beautiful. It's a very beautiful place. There's lots of gorgeous parks. And, it's a place that produces a lot of independent free thinkers. You see a lot of people that come out of Portland specifically being very forward thinking, and I don't just mean that in terms of like their politics. I mean, they're able to see forward, see into the future. They're able to prophesize in some ways. And there's also a sense of real humanity here. People here care about what's going on in the world. They care about what's happening in this country. There's a lot of solidarity here. It's also a city with a lot of different refugee communities. I think that's beautiful as well. It's not it's not a very diverse city compared to like the rest of the country, but it makes up for it, I think, in the diversity of like the individualism. That's important here. It's important here that people's individuality be respected, and I think that's something that I like about the culture. Everybody is seen as unique, and that uniqueness is celebrated. What else do I like? I mean, there's a lot of art here. There's a lot of different things going on. It's mild in terms of the climate. I love that. I do like the rain. I like that it's wet because it keeps everything green and luscious, and it cleans the streets off from all the debris and dust that you get accumulated in other places. I will say it's a little bit rugged. It's a little bit seedy as well, but I kind of like that too. Like, I like that it has, there's a quirkiness to it, and then it also has this kind of seedy underbelly. And so it's an interesting place. There's things that are difficult about it. There's obviously an issue with homelessness, but I will talk about that as well. The thing that really bothers me about the way that it's talked about, and one thing that isn't talked about so much, is the fact that there's a reason why people come here in terms of like the homeless population, and it's the fact that they are criminalized in other places. So you hear people who don't even live in Portland saying all these nasty things about the homeless population when their very towns and cities routinely round these people up and kick them out. or take them to Portland or send them to Portland or other major big cities. That's what's going on in this country. Everywhere you don't see homeless people, that's usually because they're being moved along. Okay, so the fact that people are able to like maybe have some sort of existence here, I think that's important to recognize as well. And it's a big part of the conversation that isn't talked about, the fact that like communities do kick out these people and they do end up in the major cities because that's the only place that will take them. So the issue is, I find it really, it upsets me, to see that when I hear and see that from people, especially a lot of people who will work in the city as well. They make their money here and then they go live in the suburbs or in other towns, or they'll go live in Washington because of its close proximity to Portland, so they can pay less tax. So they take from the city, but they don't give back. And I think that's important as to recognize as well. Like I don't have much. There's a whole lot going on there that just irritates me. The fact of the matter is that there are problems with this place, but it's has a lot going for it. That's amazing, and I love it here. In terms of the size, the kind of lifestyle I can have here, it's a place that I enjoy living. So anyway, long story there. But yeah, I do like it here. Polar Night says, I've heard of Oregon being very beautiful and naturey. Yeah, it is a beautiful place. Oregon has many scenic wonders. There's a lot of different, the Oregon coast is one of the most beautiful places in the country. So many incredible landmarks. There's beautiful mountains here. There's forests. It's very green and luscious because of the rain. There's many different animals that live here. And also, the people. The thing too is like Portland is very different than the rest of the state as well. I'll say that about it too. Like in terms of like why I decided to live here, I first moved here because I grew up in Alaska. So around the time that I kind of, I graduated high school, I was still working kind of. I stayed in Alaska, through being 19, and right before I turned 20, I moved here. And I think, there were a lot of Alaskans that I knew that moved here. And actually, that's the other thing, too. There's other Alaskan transplants. I do meet people here that are from Alaska. When I first moved, I did have an Alaskan friend that had moved here. So she offered to let me sublet a place in her home that she was renting with some other people. I did that, kind of established myself, and that was that. I did keep in touch with some Alaskan friends, although most of them I haven't. A lot of people who moved here really didn't change their lifestyle or habits, and I think that kind of didn't go so well for them. But yeah, for me, I was just interested in having a better life. I was interested in having an easier life as well. That's the thing, like growing up in a place like Alaska, even though I lived in like the city of Anchorage, what you do find is the lifestyle is very difficult. And I really, as I said earlier in this stream, I'm all about making my life as easy as possible. Like I don't want to do or put myself through a bunch of extra stuff when I don't need to. Portland, especially at the time I moved here, was so inexpensive. It had so much going for it. And it really was a place that appealed to me. The other thing I like about living here is, even though it's a smaller city, a lot of musical like groups and bands come through here. So I'm able to go see live music, which is a passion of mine. I like going to concerts. So a lot of different artists and groups come through Portland. It's kind of a big tour destination. Most of the time they're going to hit Portland. So, especially as a younger woman who loved going to shows, like it was an appealing aspect of it. Like I could see a lot of my favorite bands, which never would have come to Alaska. You know, especially when I was growing up, I can maybe count on my hand the number of like groups that came to Alaska, and most of them I wasn't even interested in seeing. So yeah, there's a lot of things about it. It's a big arts and cultural hub for the region. It still has a small town feel. It also has a Wild West feel because I mean this is the West. This is the West Coast, and so it does have that kind of rugged pioneer individualism thing that I think is special. But anyway, there are 7 of you watching, so I don't know. Nobody's really commenting, but I kind of went over what I wanted to talk about, so I don't know if I'm going to stay live much longer unless there's anything anybody wants to ask or talk about or would like me to expand about. I'll stay live for a little while. You like listening to me and doing art? That's nice. Yeah, I do like to. There's some people that I go live with sometimes that, I'll just be sitting there on with them and I'm doing art. They're doing art, and it's a nice thing. But I don't think it works so much with my channel. I would love to have that where I just host that, but I don't know. I don't know that it would work so much with what I've got going on. Oof. And I've been talking, I haven't been working on this crochet project, but I was like, oh, I'm going to go live and talk and do that. Get this started, get this going. That's the thing when I'm like live, I tend to get sucked into talking so much that I just hyper focus on that, and I don't tend to do what I initially set out to do. Like when I went live last night, I was like, oh, I'm going to tidy my desk. And would you look at it, it still needs to be tidied a bit. I mean, it's been tidied a bit, but it still has a lot of work to do. Speaking of, have you been doing or finishing a lot of drawings? No, I haven't been doing many drawings recently, actually. I really haven't. Last week I was working on this kind of piece. I have it here on the desk. I'll show it to you in a moment once I finish this row. I don't know where I'm really going with it, but yeah, I'll show you the most recent piece I'm working on. But no, I haven't been sitting here and doing my art. I just haven't been, I don't know, inspired or motivated for that recently. Also, this working full-time thing is just, what a drag. Can we abolish the 40-hour work week? It is evil. Yeah, so this is my current thing I'm working on. Don't really know where I'm going with it or what the purpose of it is, but that's what it is. It's interesting. There's a lot of interesting little pieces to it. I think I'm just kind of doing, oh, let's do a little bit of this. Oh, let's do a little bit of that, and then come back and forth. I don't know. So yeah, maybe I'll work on it a bit this afternoon. I did find a new show that I'm getting into. So usually when I draw, it's like I'm watching or listening to something and kind of drawing. So I haven't really been doing much of that. Like, you know, I haven't been, yeah, really binging any shows or anything like that and drawing. But I did find a new show that I'm kind of getting into. It's from the 90s, I think. It's called Valley Kiss Angel. It's about a English priest who goes to Ireland to serve as a priest in this small town of Ballykiss Angel. It's a beautiful region in Ireland, and um, I don't know. It's got a lot of heart, so I'm enjoying watching that. So maybe I'll do some of that this afternoon. Oh my goodness, I can't seem to get this. Um, well, Polar Nights. I mean, I used to be more into drawing figures, not really animals. I'm more into drawing people, or like mythical like creatures, like fairies or mermaids, that kind of thing, that are somewhat humanesque. Although I did, think recently it might be a good idea to get like a book on anatomy, just to study kind of animals' anatomy. But I don't really have much interest in drawing animals, to be honest. It just doesn't. I mean, sometimes I'll draw a cat. Yeah, I think that's like the only kind of animal I usually draw. I mean, I draw birds sometimes too. I don't know. It's just not my thing. Um, so yeah, I used to draw like figures. It's pretty much all I did was like people or characters that were somewhat mythical. But yeah, I've really been into the patterns, shapes, kind of drawing the past few years. Probably since 2017 or 2018, I really got stuck into that and just have been going ever since. Sometimes I like to mix the two as well, like drawing persons or characters and then interspersing it with the kind of line art, shape art, pattern art thing. But I don't know. There's something I get really lost, and I just kind of build these creations. And I think that's what is so appealing to me about it, is that I don't know where I'm really going with it when I get started. I just kind of tune in, and then this structure kind of gets built out of me of all these random pieces coming together. So it's more that I just enjoy the process more than anything else. So you enjoy drawing animals, birds, horses, and dogs. I don't know if I've ever drawn a dog. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've ever drawn a dog. Funny thinking about that, huh? Like, yeah, I've never drawn a dog. Here we go. It's starting to round out. Getting the bottom bit. I'm creating another pouch for some loose tarot cards that I have. Like I don't have a box for them. So I'm creating a little pouch to put them in. This is the last one I created for a deck. So it's pretty simple, just a little pouch. You slide them in there. They stay secure, they stay all together. Doesn't take too long to make. Pretty simple. So yeah, that'll be my creative project for today. Yeah, that's the other thing about women, just to take it back to this subject matter. Almost all the women I know are just very creative in some way. They have these things they do, whether it be like drawing or, knitting or sewing or even like growing or making food. You just see these things, these ways that women take what is, and they seem to just create out of thin air. Not that men don't have that as well, they do, but it's always, there's something so comforting about the way women just create in the world. It's, yeah, I mean, that's the term for it, like the comfort. And that's the other thing about women too. I was talking about the fact that a lot of times women don't even recognize the value that they add just by their very presence. Your presence is valuable. Your presence is valuable as a woman. And it's just the way that you do things. It's just the way that you are. It has an impact on the environment. It changes the way it feels. It provides comfort. And that's the other thing too, like a lot of the time what is sought out when like women are sought out, whether it be like a women only community or when like men are pursuing women or a woman is pursuing another woman, it's a comfort of that presence that is so valuable and so enriching and so difficult to name or define. But that feeling of comfort that women provide just naturally being who we are, it's so valuable in the world. It makes you feel so safe. It makes you feel so loved. It makes you feel like things are going to be all right. And it just astounds me how we live in this world and so many women look externally and they think that they don't see or recognize the fact that they don't recognize that value, the value of it, of who they are and what they do just naturally. Even though like people, the way you're sought out as a woman just for your presence, Anyway, I hope I've given you all something to think about here today. It's not just about what we do, it's about who we are that has an impact. Polar Knight says, could only count on maybe one hand of guys I know that knew that draw. I have a different experience. Most of my friends that draw are men. Most of my friends that are like artists that draw are men. I know women that paint. I know a lot of female artists. Don't get me wrong. Most of the artists I know are female, but the drawers, the ones that particularly sit and draw as their art form, I mean, maybe that's just as an adult though too, because when I was a girl, I had friends that drew. We were just, those of us who drew as girls, we all like congregated together. And there were boys that drew, but we usually didn't want anything to do with them. You know what I mean? We're like, because the way they drew and the way we drew was very different. Because I feel like with what I noticed on my end is like we would just create things out of our imagination. And a lot of the times, even though they sometimes had the imagination, it wasn't to the same level that we did. So they would often be like, reading books about drawing and like copying things, or like um, they did that kind of more studied thing. They were looking to make things that were more maybe accurate or realistic, as opposed to us who we were doing it for the sheer pleasure of it and to see see what we saw in our minds come out on the paper. The guys I'm around don't really have that tendency to do art, or they used to draw, but they stopped because someone told them they sucked at it. Which is honestly sad. We aren't born knowing how to make amazing pieces of art. Most of it is practice. Yeah, that's exactly it. And the other thing too, it doesn't really even matter if you suck at it. If you enjoy doing it, not everything needs to be a masterpiece. It's okay to do something just because you like doing it. No. Let's talk about that. You don't have to be the best at anything you do. That what's important is that you enjoy doing it. Not everybody is the best. You may not even be very good at all, but are you enjoying it? Not every hobby needs to be monetized. Not every hobby needs to be like in a museum somewhere. You can just enjoy what you're doing. But anyway, y'all, I think I'm going to go because while I've enjoyed this chat and most of where it's gone, I think, it's been a little bit all over the place. So I don't want to go too far out there anymore, or kind of get off topic more than I have already. We're over an hour in anyway, so I'm going to head out. But thank you for showing up and being part of the chat. Thank you those of you who shared, asked me questions, and talked. I appreciate you. And thank you for those of you who have been watching and those who are watching on catch up. I will see you around next time. Bye.